C'est horrible. C'est ça pour moi. Je vous tiens la porte, je vous tiens la porte et vous passez.
Tu passes tes plats.
Ça y est, j'ai le cœur qui.
Quoi?
J'ai le cœur qui s'emporte.
Ça va le faire.
Je suis content que les Pokémon se connus.
Ouais, c'est cool.
Vas-y, faites des.
À droite, c'est ça. On a pas. Bien.
Je suis excité.
Moi, je suis excité et terrifié en même temps.
Mec, elle est gold. Ça va être nickel.
De gauche à droite, quand même. La chantilly à gauche, on est d'accord. Ouais, on peut les faire rentrer direct.
La chantilly, c'est peut-être le truc à pas faire.
C'est un peu lourd.
Ouais. Il en reste 2, allez. Il en reste plusieurs pour les gens après.
Ouais, ouais. Si on a un.
Allez. Je fais un signe, j'attends de positionner. C'est bon.
J'ai pas fermé la porte.
Non,
Les vidéos proches sont prêts, le son est pas fermé la porte, on balance le son.
C'est balancé. C'est bon.
Il y a la télécommande.
Allô. Oui, tu tapes là, montre du code simulation QR. Sur YouTube. Ouais, je dois raccrocher.
Ouais.
Voilà, c'est ça.
On peut aussi un peu vous positionner.
Oui, c'est ce que tu as fait.
Si vous voulez, avec les couleurs.
Ici. Quelques-uns ici. Oui, voilà. Juste plier ici aussi.
Ça fait gêner, ça fait bon.
Non, c'est pas.
Ouais, c'est bon, c'est là.
Vous voulez être professeur de design chez L.A.S.T. différence sur l'Est
Bonjour à tous. Mon nom est Jérémy Ancien. Je remonte. Depuis 17 ans, plusieurs nations se sont réunies autour d'un programme de recherche de l'université communauté, L.A.S.T, ou Large Anthropological Simulation Trial. Donc L.A.S.T est une expérience anthropologique sans précédent qui entend évaluer les systèmes politiques passés, présents et futurs par des simulations. Comment en les soumettant à des crises politiques, sociales ou sanitaires.
Pour la 17e édition de L.A.S.T, le repas du congrès sera diffusé en live sur Internet. Le représentant virtuel, M. Fax, pour la République médiatique. Mrs. Nike, pour la démocratie directe. Mrs. Lugano, pour la République fédérale. Ainsi que M. O, pour l'anarcho-capitalisme, débattront du débat autour de la crise de À la fin du débat, un système politique sera mis.
Pendant que les représentants virtuels de L.A.S.T seront en train de débattre dans une pièce annexe, vous, les membres du jury qui sont installés à table, pouvez poursuivre le débat dans la réalité et être enregistrés par les échos qui sont positionnés sur les tables. Je vous invite donc à vous installer sur la place qui vous convient le mieux en fonction du système. Pareil, dans le
Allez-y.
Les deux vidéos de l'échange seront là.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm pleased to welcome you once again to the 17th L.A.S.T Congress. Before I begin, I would like to thank my fellow colleagues of the Université Communauté who have dedicated time and effort through all these years to this fine cause that is the L.A.S.T research program. It has been a toilsome, enriching journey and it's not yet to end. I would also like to thank the 4 talented representatives in charge of the current research. Mrs. Paula Nike, representative in charge of the Direct Democracy Program. Mrs. Christine Lugano, representative of the Federal Presidential Republic Program. Mr. Damon Arrow, representative of the Anarcho-Capitalist Program. And last but not least, Mr. Harrison Fax, representative of the Democratic Republic Program. Thank you again for being here today. Before we begin, I would like to be sure that every one of you understands what we really do here at L.A.S.T. L.A.S.T stands for Large Anthropological Simulation Trial. Without getting too much into detail, what we do here is simply test various patterns of social organizations, or political systems if you may, by simulating them through experimental simulators and coding. You'll understand that as scientists, we can't allow ourselves to leave any stone unturned. That is why we don't impose ourselves any boundaries regarding the kind of systems we test out. We try to test them all, even the ones that have gone wrong in the past, because we strongly believe that any political pattern has potential for social design feedback if pushed to a limit. That is why our routine consists of subjecting the systems to crisis and observe how they recover from it. Our job then is to decide whether one political system is worth further research or not. Believe you me, this step is pretty delicate. The fact being that given the complexity of these simulations, it is almost impossible to foresee if a pattern will regain its stability or not. That is why we leave this decision to debate. Indeed, the following debate will enable our four researchers to consider the pros and cons of each pattern and determine which one of the four should be suspended from the current research program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to begin the 17th L.A.S.T. Congress. Let me remind you the headline of today's debate: Impact and Effects of the HG01 DGMO, or Health Crisis through Defective Genetical Modification Operation. I hope my fellow colleagues won't mind me getting a little more into details for the few visitors in the audience. To spare you the scientific gibberish, the story of this year's crisis was: on the first day of spring, a rather large number of genetically modified plants scattered all across the territory by the government in order to spread around a genetic vaccine against potential biological terrorist attacks would, by mistake, diffuse a defective bacterial cocktail. This defect, a rather violent microbe of the cocktail known as purple TCDD, would then lead to a negative immune response of the whole population, triggering a widespread quarantine which would slow the economic growth down. The second stage then consisted in the scattering of resveratrol, an antimicrobial resistant bacteria designed to disable the effects of the cocktail in the drinking water network by a pharmaceutical company called Pharmacon Incorporated. The idea being that, to answer the emergency, the order would have been given deliberately by the health department without any superior authorization. The operation would then lead to the partial healing of the purple TCDD's infected patients, yet also result in the numerous allergic reactions to resveratrol and a few deaths, triggering, of course, investigations and formation of protest groups in response to the forced medication of the population. All right, now that everything has been cleared up, let us begin. Mrs. Nike, you've been a representative of the Direct Democracy Program for almost 2 years now. Could you briefly describe the structure of your pattern for our visitors in the audience?
Certainly. Well, you see, direct democracy is based on a pretty elementary concept: the absolute participation of the citizen in political matters. The key point being that citizens have pure freedom of speech. Any matter of any kind, whether it is political ideas, local issues, judicial cases, or even the slight suspicion concerning the integrity of an assembly member, can be discussed and judged by the whole people with a simple referendum. One could say that this is democracy in its purest form.
Very well done, dear colleague. Your portrayal was, as always, crystal. So how did the Direct Democracy pattern respond to the crisis?
Pretty well, actually. First of all, even before the first resveratrol deaths were discovered, a citizen working as an accountant for Pharmacon Incorporated reported that the company had indeed, without any apparent orders, discharged 2/3 of its resveratrol stocks into the drinking water network. In a matter of hours, the company's CEO and his 4 associates were brought to the online people's court and were sentenced to 54 years of ostracism, thus forced to leave the territory immediately.
Excuse me, but how many judges conducted this trial?
About 755,000 citizens, around 97% of the population.
So you think that, given the number of judges, the trial was fair? Seems to me it was conducted in a rush, with no real procedure or due process.
I'm just telling you what happened, Mr. Arrow. I'm just stating the facts.
Well, go on then.
Thank you. Where was it? Less than an hour later, one of our citizens, a pharmacist, brought to the People's Assembly the idea that the company could not have proceeded alone without any aid nor any command from the government. He explained that resveratrol was a pretty expensive product, and he didn't see how a company could ever consider throwing so much away, especially as the product wasn't corrupted. Consequently, after a few hours of debate, the majority of the Assembly decided to investigate the magistrate in charge of health. A citizen was then chosen by lottery to examine his file, agenda, and personal documents for any anomalies. Surprisingly, they did not find anything peculiar to charge him for, so the majority voted that the suspect would have to be ostracized for at least 10 years, just in case. A pretty accurate decision, I suppose.
Pardon me, but what do you mean by surprisingly?
Well, I had planned the crisis so that it would be quite elementary for the people to find that the magistrate had something to do with the affair. A few abnormalities in his personal agenda. But they didn't seem to find any.
Well, the citizen in charge of the inquiry may not have been the most conscientious one.
Well, I admit that the direct democracy pattern has its flaws. Sometimes the lottery chooses men that don't want to play along. Though in the end they did get the right person, so one could say that, even though it was based on some arbitrary suspicion, the judiciary system is quite accurate indeed.
How accurate is this? In this case, they chose the right person. I'll give you that. It was pure luck. They could accuse anybody.
That's correct.
Well, that's fantastic. Pardon me. Do you really think that a judicial system relying on suspicion of ad fact premonition is somehow accurate?
Dear colleague, you're forgetting something. They don't send people away anytime a citizen has the feeling they might be a threat. They simply expose their suspicion, and if their feeling is indeed shared by the whole community, then they send them away. It's not systematic.
But this is totally arbitrary. If we follow your logic, people can be ostracized only because of the way they look. Oh, his eyes say evil. Bad, you're gone. You can't deny this is unstable.
Given the mentality of the people in your system, it might be, I presume. Though the citizens of a direct democracy take these citizens very seriously.
Sure, a lot of time on their hands.
What is that supposed to mean?
Oh, nothing. Well, I would love to take a look at the economic state of this wonderful system of yours.
Well, be my guest. You may realize that this is not ancient Greece anymore. We don't need slaves to do the work while we sit in the assembly. We've got the internet now, you know. For your information, though I doubt you care, the system is organized around online agoras on which people can share ideas and fears, and as a matter of fact, vote for daily referendums in the blink of an eye.
So
They do care, Mr. Arrow. They don't just click on yes or no without thinking about it, as you were about to suggest. That's what we call political awareness, and it's a pretty strong factor in this matter. People do care about politics. I imagine how it can be a strange notion for you, given the way people think in your program.
Please, dear colleagues, there's no need for personal bickering.
If I may, without questioning the things you said before, Mrs. Nike, you have to admit that the absence of an investigation system is quite problematic. By ignoring the facts, your citizens missed the most serious matter of the crisis, the genetic vaccine. This is not without significance.
Dear colleagues, believe me, I agree. The direct democracy program is not perfect. But with our help, I think that it could evolve into something rather interesting. In fact, I don't think that I'm crossing the line too much when I say that it is pretty terrific already. Sortition, ostracism, open assembly, daily referendum.
Especially if you forget about the brilliant scientists who carefully spread defective bacteria and caused the loss of nearly a week of production.
Thank you, Mr. Arrow, for your professional fact stating. I'm eager to know how the few million armed anarchists of your pattern reacted to the crisis. As I was saying, sortition, daily referendums, all of these devices allow democracy to develop itself a little more every day. I can assure you, with a little more time, it will become something we could never have hoped for.
Thank you, Mrs. Nike. That was a great statement. Though let me remind you that this research program is not about founding the best democratic organization.
I know.
Now, let's move on to the second researcher of today's Congress, Mrs. Christine Lugano. You are the representative in charge of the Federal Presidential Republic Program. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure thing. Well, the Federal Presidential Republic has a very dual organization. In a nutshell, the governmentship is divided into two parts, which are the federal government and the states. The states independently manage their own judicial system, as well as their cultural matters, their education system, and the economy. Whereas the federal government rules foreign policy, defense, postal services, border control, and economic relations between the states. Regional acknowledgement is the key idea behind this pattern.
Thank you, Mrs. Lugano, for your thoroughness. Your presentation was even sharper than last year's. Now, it's been a few months since the crisis was launched. How did your pattern react to it?
I can't really say it went well.
How surprising.
What do you mean, Mrs. Lugano? Did your simulation break down after the crisis?
Well, not really.
Come on, Mrs. Lugano. What happened?
All right, well, just consider something first. Before the crisis, everything was going fine.
Sure. We'll keep that in mind.
Take your time, Mrs. Lugano. We've got all day.
Sorry. Well, a few days after the Federal Health Research Department found out that the purple TCDD defect, Pharmacom Incorporated was appointed to pour their citipral into the water. As Pharmacom Incorporated was the only pharmaceutical company in a 10-state radius, and the only company producing Rociprol, it was pretty easy to find a guilty party. Therefore, each state hit by the medicine asked the guilty state's executives to make sure that Pharmacom Incorporated was to be found guilty and punished for its neglect in what they assumed then was an accident. And so they did. The CEO of the company was dismissed the day after.
So far, so good.
But that's where it got a bit funny. As you know, every state's economy had already been inflicted by the few days of quarantine due to the defective bacteria. Companies lost millions and millions. Therefore, pretexting that the sentence was insufficient, the surrounding states unified to ask the guilty state for compensation. So, unable to answer the demand and afraid of a potential shutdown, Pharmacon Incorporated decided to reveal that the so-called accident had been, in fact, commissioned by the Federal Health Department. To support this claim, it showed material evidence that the federal government had been, in fact, spreading genetic vaccines for nearly a decade without notifying the people. The people did not wait to learn more. In a matter of days, the situation gained considerable animosity to the point where each state and the federal organization unified as one big bloc and rose up against the federal government. It took them less than 48 hours to dissolve it and replace it with a more horizontal organization.
What do you mean by horizontal?
Well, what I mean is that there is no real federal government which rules the states altogether anymore. The states are, in a way, pretty independent. Though they wrote treaties to regulate their economic relationships, as well as a shared constitution, they each have a government of their own.
You mean that the federal presidential republic you're in charge of has transformed itself into a confederation?
Well, let's say, not really.
What do you mean, not really? Has it turned into a confederation or not?
I wouldn't say...
Come on, admit it, Mrs. Lugano.
Well, it has transformed itself, sure. But I don't know if you could call it confederation.
What you described before is precisely the definition of a confederation.
Well...
Will you stop kidding around, Mrs. Lugano? You said the same thing for your last program. You irritated, but not really. Whatever. What was it already?
In fact, Mrs. Lugano's last research program was the Confederation.
No way. Are you kidding
What
me?
a funny coincidence.
Well, I know that we've tried the confederation before and it didn't work out.
Screwed up. That's what it is.
And I know that by the looks of it, my current research program could be considered a confederation.
What's of it? Can you believe that? That's a confederation, Mrs.
Mr.
Lugano.
Arrow, will you please let Mrs. Lugano speak?
What I'm saying is that it could actually work this time, that's all.
Come on. We all know how it will evolve.
What do you mean?
Well, I recall that the Confederation program went wrong because each state evidently tried to gain full independence. That's the way it goes. Besides each state being economically independent, the pattern became ultra-liberalistic and disordered.
I don't see what's wrong with that.
Start, will you?
If I may, that's precisely why I think my pattern can go all the way this time. Why did it go wrong before? Simply because the states were independent already. This time, they have rooted in them what was missing before. And Mrs. Nike, you said that's what makes the direct democracy pattern work. Political awareness. In fact, the revolution has unified the people around a shared goal. So they all know what they fought for together. I'm sure of it. They will try to make it work this time. They will rule together and apart at the same time in respect for one another's culture and state.
That is a pretty picture, Mrs. Lugano. I agree with you. It could work, but unfortunately, I don't think it will last for long. After a few generations, this political awareness you mentioned will fade away.
But
Come on, get on with it. It's always a little more difficult to have everyone agree on something when so many jurisdictions are involved. It just takes too much time.
I know.
We'll think about it. all
If
right?
I may, even though we all have reasons to doubt that the confederation system could ever work, I think that we've overlooked an essential point of it, which is language. Indeed, I think that if Mrs. Lugano were to program a radicalization of the current languages to transform it into something new, a unique language shared by all the states, we would altogether unify the people and give them something to protect as a nation. We all know that countries, as they were called, gathered around specific languages. Why not your confederation, Mrs. Lugano?
That's feasible.
I have to say, that could actually work.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Lugano. Moving on. Mr. Arrow, you represent the anarcho-capitalist program. Could you tell us more about it?
Hey, well, anarcho-capitalism is a rather simple way of thinking about politics. It can be summed up in two concepts. No government, freedom of property. So what does that mean? It simply means that there is no regulation on business nor trade. Anybody has the right to build any company of any kind, whether it be in a simple industry like clothing or food, or printing banknotes for making weapons. In this system, even justice or policing is a matter of speculation and business. You can find private courthouses, different police companies, and so on. The belief being that the more police courthouses there are, the wider the choice of judges. The more equal and equitable is the justice.
Very well done, Mr. Arrow. I can't help noticing that your view on the subject has loosened up since the start of the program. Can I presume the response given to the crisis was good?
Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. The anarcho-capitalist system did not flinch. Not even a slight shift. Not once. It stood steady as a rock.
Oh, please.
Could you tell us a bit more about it, Mr. Arrow?
Sure thing. Though it's a short story, all right?
Come on, spit it out.
I'm getting to it, Mrs. Nike. Don't be so impatient. Right. So, as you know, this is an anarchist pattern, so the stakeholders are a bit different this time. Since there is no state, the Department of the Interior has been swapped for a major agribusiness company. the health department, or insurance company, the Pharmacon Incorporated, well, it escaped the same. Okay, now the story. As you know, the first death was a global allergic reaction to purple PCBD. With this crisis, what I did was that I programmed Trader Foods Limited, which was one of the 3 biggest food suppliers in the territory, to have been medicating its consumers through its products and for an obvious reason, to guarantee the effective stability of its business. Stable health equals stable profit.
Wow, it seems you've got a bit anarcho-capitalist yourself, Mr. Arrow.
As you said before, Mrs. Nike, I'm just stating the facts. That's all. Step 2. Following the operation, an increasing number of allergic reactions were reported by the area's most important insurance company, L.A.S.T Insurance. You'll understand quite easily that the economy of the territory had been going slightly downhill because of the quarantine. Thus, to avoid squandering a huge amount of its money to compensate the victims' families, L.A.S.T Insurance called on Pharmacon Incorporated to pour reciprocal into the water. And it's worth mentioning that only half of L.A.S.T Insurance would have lost the compensation of what they had to spend to invest in the operation.
Ooh, score.
I'm glad you agree. Step 3. Inevitably, more than 100 people had a serious reaction to the medicine. 14 deaths were reported. Now, you'll see why this pattern is a winner, right? Given that there is no state police in this pattern, the victims' families decided to gather their money and invested in independent investigators. 5 actually, so that the risk of corruption would be smaller.
What do you mean?
Well, given that money rules the judicial system, there could have been a risk that Pharmacon Incorporated or Trader Foods Limited, if they gave enough money to the investigators, maybe the investigators would forget to tell their clients about their findings.
But doesn't that happen in most cases?
Well, that's the genius behind this pattern. It tends to regulate itself naturally. In fact, private police and courts, they try to be as fair as possible so that they can establish a relationship of trust with their clients.
But that's not always the case, is it?
Evidently not. As with your pattern, Mrs. Meneke, the anarcho-capitalist system has its faults.
I'm sure of it, Mr. Arrow. Besides, out of curiosity, wouldn't these investigators of yours be able to accuse any innocent person in exchange for more money?
They could, but that almost never happens. For the same reason I've already stated. They have an interest in forming a relationship of trust.
But it can. That is quite arbitrary and unstable, don't you think?
Well, this is my law. Though I didn't claim my pattern could be considered a democracy in its purest form.
You're so predictable, Mr. Arrow.
After less than a week of research, the investigators had found the 2 responsible companies, Pharmacon Incorporated and Trader Foods. So what did the families do? Well, it went quite differently for each one. In the case of the food company, the task was a little delicate. In fact, being one of the biggest industries in the territory, there was no use starting a judicial procedure. They had the best lawyers and even more importantly, substantial financial capabilities. So what the family did was start a massive boycott of the company with the help of nearly every local newspaper and with the hope that they would put the company in bankruptcy. So in the end, it didn't quite go bankrupt, but that's another story. Afraid to be boycotted as well, Pharmacon simply decided to tell families who was behind the whole operation, namely L.A.S.T Insurance. And they developed their best lawyers to pursue the company for murder in 3 different courts. For the same reasons as before. They agreed, of course, and L.A.S.T Insurance went bankrupt. End of story.
I have to admit, this pattern of yours runs like a well-oiled machine. Though I can't help being concerned about it. Don't you think it lacks, and I know it may sound corny, some kind of humanity? I know the point of this program is not to fight for equal social system, but I thought thinking that a system fostering social inequalities is maybe not the way to go.
Well, every citizen is given an equal chance to succeed.
Sure.
Pardon me, but you had the same simulation layout as all of us, right?
Sure had. I didn't need the help.
Well, the simulation was already programmed so that all the citizens have predefined jobs and financial situations. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the citizens of your simulation did not start as equals. How can you say that each of them had the same chance to succeed?
Well,
Because logically they don't. Most of the really poor ones will stay poor and the rich will stay rich. You know that's how it goes. We've tried that for a few centuries already. It was the law of the jungle then, and by the looks of it, it still is now.
well, that's how human nature works in my pattern. Listen, I'm not going to argue with you. My pattern has its good qualities and its flaws, just like yours. Even though you doubt it, it is clear. At least my citizens do not ostracize innocent company owners just because they look suspicious.
Innocent company owners. Listen to yourself, Damon. That's ridiculous.
Once again, dear colleagues, let's not fall into personal bickering. We've only got one last system to go. We'll have all the time to discuss them. All right?
Yes.
Last but not least, representing the Mediocratic Republic, Mr. Harrison Fax. Mediocratic republic, that is in fact quite an unusual pattern. Could you maybe enlighten us by telling us a little bit about it, Mr. Fax?
Of course. The mediocratic republic is kind of an in-between pattern. That's quite intricate to sum up, but I'll try to be as thorough as I can. What is a mediocratic republic? Well, we could roughly describe it as a junction between political organization and media. Indeed, in a mediocratic republic, each political party is directly associated and supported by a television channel, ergo a website, a newspaper, a radio channel, etc. Consequently, each media party, as we call them, having their own opinion and political goals, is free to read political events as they wish and to then call it fact. Though one could think of it as madness, it's crucial to consider that the people of a mediocratic republic were born in this overexposed environment, thus they've quite naturally developed an accuracy of judgment. They will always have the reflex to compare all the interpretations of an event before believing in one version or another. Don't get me wrong, it's a tiring job. That is why citizens of mediocratic republics perpetually tend to drift away from political matters. So far, to address this problem, media parties have mostly relied on entertainment and participation. You'll see how.
Well done, Mr. Fax. That will surely help us get a clearer idea of your report. Right, now, how did your pattern respond to the crisis exactly?
Well, if I may say so, it followed a straight path. And even though the perception we could get of it may be of a tangled puzzle, you'll see that the process is actually rather logical and straightforward.
I'll give you 1 minute.
Well, that's a challenge. All right, I'll try to be as brief as possible. So the minute the first case of purple TCDD came out, though only a few thousand citizens had been hit at the time, a massive investigation campaign was set up by every media party to find out where it had started. Therefore, trying to draw as many viewers as possible, each channel tried to develop the most original, let's say, script. For instance, Bay TV1, which is actually a liberal media party, focused its efforts on underground research. In order to do so, it deployed a rather large number of well-trained journalists to go and explore the sewers, underground tunnels, groundwater substructures, and so on, in order to find tracks of a toxic leak, all of it while being streamed live, of course. Republic One Interior, the Interior's channel on the other hand, pursued its own investigations, citing some acid rain phenomena coming from outside the delta. Of course, given that the state's defense was at the center of the whole case, the operation was only a cover-up, but that did not matter. In fact, the investigation lasted more than 2 days, and the people had already lost interest.
But wasn't there any investigation concerning eventual air pollution?
Well, there was, but no one really cared about it.
And why is that?
Well, simply because investigating air pollution is not entertainment material. No one wants to watch 100 journalists running after some invisible toxic specimen.
All right, I'll give you that. But are you telling me that no one found out about the whole story despite this massive investigation?
Well, the hypothesis was never clearly made. But let's go back to the second stage of the crisis, shall we? Reset-it-all. Believe you me, this operation turned out to trigger an even bigger media circus. In fact, the channels not only had to investigate the deaths, but also the sudden healing of purple TCDD patients all around the territory. Pure entertainment gold. And again, Republic One Health, the health department's channel, quite smartly decided not to start a new polemic, but rather to raise doubts about the sudden healing of the patients in order to avoid suspicion. Yet after a few days of intense investigation, most of the media parties got the feeling that they'd reached the boiling point, and there was no need to carry on with it. So they decided to jump straight to the trial.
That's absurd.
One might think that was absurd indeed, though just listen to what happened next. The trial took place in a gigantic studio in which nearly 60 specialists gathered. Scientists, economists, political specialists, webmasters, philosophers, and investigators, each of them hired, of course, by different media parties. Streamed live by every channel, the trial started by a 3.5-hour review of every specialist version of the story. In regard to this prior step, each viewer was thus asked to vote for whomever he considered was to blame, before the end of what they called the countdown of justice.
Cheesy.
Please note that the participation rate turned out to be nearly 95%. Something quite impressive for a live television show, I guess.
Waste of time, right?
Oh, shut up.
I have to admit, the results of the vote made me realize that the mediocratic republic actually needed a bit more work. You'll see why. On the one hand, people declared the Secretary of Health and the Secretary of the Interior guilty of premeditated murder. That was pretty interesting, given that there was no evidence that the purple TCDD poisoning had been triggered by the Interior, nor proofs stating that the cerebral had been spread by the Health Department. The citizens had just naturally cross-checked all the data and drew their own conclusions. Yet on the other hand, people also accused 4 citizens who were completely unrelated to the case. Curiously enough, 2 of them were suspects from the previous trial, based on a totally different affair. Two men who had apparently fallen between the cracks, and the two others were accused for no apparent reason.
Would the citizens of your pattern be slightly judgmentaholic, Mr. Pratt?
Well, maybe, but you won't deny that's a good thing. They tend to want more and more trials to judge, even more referendums and decision-making.
You give it too much, I'd say.
Well, nothing we can't handle.
I'm just saying that you should be careful, that's all. Your system might foster some paranoiac tendencies, which could easily trigger social tensions. You know how we tend to believe in conspiracy theories.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Lugano. I'll look into that.
Pardon me, but even though I think you're doing a very fine job, Mr. Fax, I don't really see the point of your program. In fact, one could argue that your pattern is very similar to mine. Though to obtain the same results with fewer mistakes, as I recall, I did not need any of this entertainment rubbish. So I guess
Excuse me, but what you very professionally describe as rubbish has still enabled the citizens of my planet to take the interior into account for their vote. Something that your citizens forgot.
at least the citizens of my pattern did not forget about Pharmacon Incorporated.
Then it's a tie. At least the citizens of my program don't have to live with the fear of being ostracized every time they do something slightly wrong.
That's right.
You know that's not the way it goes.
Let me add something to that. At least his citizens are well educated, like your uptight democracy.
That's very mature, Mr. Arrow.
Mr. Arrow's right, though. My program invites a much broader diversity of opinions. Everyone is free to think and do as they desire. There's no social pressure of any
But
kind.
you can't deny that this can cause problems as well. All it would take is more effective newswomen on one channel for the opinion to change completely.
My citizens are way past that point, Mrs. Acker.
But this entertainment system is a game, Mr. Fax, and we're talking about politics here.
Why separate the two? All we want to do is for people to participate, don't we? If that works, why not?
Because politics is a serious matter.
It doesn't have to be.
All right, time is up. Let us proceed to the deliberation, shall we? As I said before, the goal of this debate was to allow our fine researchers to debrief their current research program in order to choose whose simulation is worth extending and whose isn't. The rule being, one of the four will have to go. All right, as always, I'm going to ask my fellow colleagues to leave the table in order to carry on their debate in the next room until they reach a consensus. Dear visitors, I must warn you this will take a while. As a matter of fact, it usually takes around 20 days for our researchers to reach a consensus. So, until then, feel free to step into the debate yourself. We will be more than interested to hear your feedback. What kind of improvements could we design for these four patterns? What other sort of problems do you foresee? Do you think that if it were to be better channeled, the entertainment system of the mediocratic republic could be fruitful? Do you think that every political matter should be processed by the whole people? Do you think that some people are best qualified to deal with political matters? Your insights will enable us to improve the next L.A.S.T. We're eager to know what you think. I'm going to ask our staff to put up on the screens the pros and cons of each system to help you get a broader overview. Thank you.
Nous allons poursuivre la discussion en français, je vous propose, parce que la langue a véritablement une influence sur le contenu de politique, nous savons. Quel est votre avis par rapport à ça?
Sur la langue? C'est pas possible.
Dans votre régime, Madame Fax.
On aura
C'est tout particulièrement Monsieur Fax.
Monsieur Fax. On aura bientôt une traduction individuelle dans toutes les circonstances. Donc la langue aujourd'hui, l'anglais par exemple, c'est un peu autorisé, c'est un peu dépassé, et on ne se posera plus la question de la langue. On gardera par contre une identité culturelle, sans plus aucune...
Puisque votre système les médias de votre système sont partagés par partis politiques, est-ce que j'ai bien compris?
Oui, la presse écrite alors n'existe pas plus.
Mrs. Fax, I think you're missing is that English is your Australian language. You have a great chance for development. You understand the meaning. You have to speak.
On va passer par le vote de l'ensemble des régions. Fédéral.
Donc, certaines vont parler romanche, les autres suisse allemand et les autres.
Avons-nous répondu à toutes ces questions, messieurs les auteurs?
On ne va pas faire un débat trop long, je pense qu'on peut s'arrêter là. Mais dans l'idée, voilà, ça pourrait durer un temps assez long et beaucoup de débats dans des sujets différents. Et voilà, c'est quand même un pilote, c'est un projet encore à ses débuts. Mais l'idée, c'est quand même de pouvoir mettre le doigt sur des désirs politiques très divers et variés en faisant. En amenant ce projet dans plein de modes différents et en permettant des pays aussi, même dans des pays différents, c'est pour ça que c'est en anglais d'ailleurs, pour pouvoir récolter le plus d'informations possible et le plus de discussions et de débats possible.
Mais pourquoi, en typifiant et en caricaturant comme ça les propositions, vous laissez ouvert à d'autres possibilités?
Déjà, on veut sensibiliser, on va dire, les participants, le public. Par exemple, la médiacratie, ça n'existe pas. Donc ça laisse, enfin, ça n'existe pas, mais enfin, vraiment appelé comme ça. Mais du coup, ça laisse la possibilité d'avoir des espèces de fantasmes aussi sur le système politique, qui n'ont jamais eu la possibilité d'exister, comme l'anarcho-capitalisme, qui répond plutôt bien. Donc finalement, on pourrait s'y intéresser. Donc essayer de ne pas avoir cette espèce de limite aussi.
Comme on dit, politics is not a serious matter. C'est important l'idée de caricaturer, on ne pourrait pas parler politique avec le langage politicien. C'est très difficile de déclencher un débat, l'idée c'était de partir par la fiction, la caricature, l'humour pour lancer le débat.
On va peut-être encore discuter un peu, mais il y a un moment où il faudra aussi qu'on vous montre les projets qui nous ont menés à cette installation-là, à ce dispositif. Il y a deux projets. Comment?
Dans le calme.
Oui.
Ça m'arrive hier, en fait.
Et donc, ces deux projets qui nous ont menés à cette installation sont d'une part un livre que vous avez reçu, Intersection et autres mondes. Donc, c'était un livre fantastique et de science-fiction. C'est un recueil de nouvelles qu'on a écrit tous les trois et qui est venu, qui nous a permis de voir quelles étaient nos envies communes et aussi de commencer à se poser des questions sur des enjeux, notamment de technologie et ce qui nous attend dans le futur, des enjeux qui nous perturbaient et qui nous gênaient en quelque sorte. Et ensuite, il y a le deuxième projet, c'était le workshop Jump. Si vous voulez voir le livre, vous pouvez le donc, si vous voulez mettre quel est le workshop Jam.
Le workshop Jam, l'événement, on va dire, qu'on a organisé au mois de février. On a proposé, grâce à Ediba, on a proposé aux étudiants à la section graphisme, à la section d'images imprimées, de travailler autour d'un thème qui était la fiction politique. Et finalement, c'est le thème qu'on a gardé aussi pendant la présentation. En fait, le thème de la fiction politique, c'était êtes-vous capable d'inventer un système politique en 5 jours? Et en fait, on s'est énormément inspiré de toutes les stratégies, manières, méthodologies, design de service, en essayant de se dire, voilà, il y a un design maintenant qui existe qui s'appelle le design de service et qui pousse à l'innovation au sein même, enfin, même dans le gouvernement. Donc voilà, on voit ce qu'on appelle les GovJam, même les villes open data, ou toutes ces choses qui sont en train d'apparaître, qui sont plus ou moins les effets d'Internet, toutes ces questions de big data, qu'est-ce qu'on en ferait? Et donc en fait, les étudiants de 4e, 5e année image imprimée et graphisme ont inventé une uchronie qui partait de la situation belge en 2010, qui était celle d'un État sans gouvernement. Et en fait, d'un problème, ils ont fait une solution. C'est-à-dire qu'un gouvernement, un État sans gouvernement, avec les technologies actuelles, ils ont supposé qu'on pourrait créer des agoras numériques. Donc, en fait, on s'est beaucoup inspiré de cette fiction pour la démocratie directe. Justement, Mrs. Knight défend beaucoup cette possibilité-là. façon numérique d'avoir ces nouvelles possibilités d'interagir entre eux. Donc en fait, en 5 jours, le mode de production, ça a été énormément de vidéos, de faux sites. Donc on fonctionne beaucoup sur, on a cet aspect un peu de faussaire en fait dans notre travail, même sur le petit livre de nouvelles, on essaye de faire croire que les choses sont réelles, en fait justement pour montrer que la fiction a cette capacité en fait à créer du réel. Voilà. Donc nous, on aussi finalement, ça peut être une forme de hold-up, comme le dit Baudrillard dans la simulation. Et donc ça, ce deuxième workshop, ça nous a... C'est ce workshop qui nous a décidé de travailler sur la fiction. À partir de là où on s'est dit, finalement, un grand projet à croire, on voulait le faire toujours autour de la fiction, mais c'est à partir de ce moment-là où on s'est dit qu'on allait s'intéresser à ça, en fait. Et ensuite, vous avez la troisième étape.
Ça, c'est un livre qui nous a permis de... On a fait plusieurs versions au cours de l'année. C'est un livre qu'on appelle On où on pouvait un peu mettre tout notre travail au cours de l'année, aussi bien écrit, les rencontres avec les professeurs, tous les manifestes au début de l'année, pour commencer à travailler tous les soirs.
Les premiers scénarios.
Les premiers scénarios du projet, il y a même des recueils de nouvelles. Vraiment, c'est tout ce qu'on fait pour l'année, ça nous permet d'avoir tout sous la main, un peu comme une sorte de mémoire, un journal intime de notre travail, et en même temps une sorte d'encyclopédie, parce qu'il y a énormément de références qu'il faut oublier, et ça peut permettre de revenir sur un outil à partir de ce travail du pilote, sur nos réflexions, sur les vidéos, tout cet aspect caricatural parfois qui peut poser problème, mais qui est aussi assez intéressant. Parce que la caricature, ça résume quelque chose très rapidement. C'est un objet qui peut être connu avec d'autres qui fonctionne. C'est vraiment un objet. Je pense que c'est plus un objet normal. C'est quand même cool. Mais c'était important de pouvoir avoir un objet qui réunisse notre travail pendant toute l'année sur le mise au point à un certain nombre d'années. Parce que finalement, on s'est un peu posé la question de comment on a été aussi amené à travailler sur notre politique. Je pense que ça vient peut-être justement de cette envie qu'on a eu de travailler à trois. Et forcément, quand on travaille à trois, il y a quand même des espèces de jeux de pouvoir qui se font même à une échelle très réduite. Et c'est peut-être ça qui nous a amené à travailler sur.
On a beaucoup de consensus tout le temps.
Parce qu'on
n'a jamais voté entre nous. On a toujours pratiqué le consensus, c'est-à-dire que les trois sont d'accord. Vous en tirez beaucoup de friction, mais ça fonctionne.
Et des livres, vous en avez trois.
Celui-là
celui-ci, il y en a qu'un.
On a signé dedans aussi. Voilà, en ce temps de pâle et qui le garde. Ça sera le prochain.
C'est le prochain qui fait ça. Voilà. D'accord. Alors déjà, ce qui est important, c'est que pour chaque représentant politique, pour chaque représentant système, il y a ce symbole du marge qui est sur la table. Et en fait, c'est une sorte de cartographie de la simulation, de la réaction du système à l'action. Et donc, chaque représentant a le marbre constamment visible en face de lui pour pouvoir savoir exactement où il en est quand il fait la crise.
La petite taille du mobilier, c'est un choix. En fait, c'est en allant au Sénat et à l'Assemblée nationale, c'est un choix, c'est un peu un clin d'œil aussi. On s'est rendu compte que le mobilier est petit, ça fait l'histoire des hommes petits. Et on trouvait ça intéressant que les participants se mettent de l'installation et un peu en fait cette espèce, le même confort les gens qui vont essayer d'assemblée se rendent compte un petit peu que justement le pouvoir, les questions du pouvoir, forcément, il n'y a pas forcément du luxe, même si l'immobilier est assez sophistiqué, d'assumer comme ça, de ne pas pouvoir faire des grandes tables séparées, qui sont des choses simples.
Il y avait aussi la forme chaîne, système qui enchaîne les uns aux autres. Et on imagine que, plutôt dans la fiction, s'il y avait encore plus de systèmes politiques en lice, qui va être choisi comme système qui permet on fait ça, il y aurait eu plus de tables reliées aux autres, des configurations.
Tout ce que cette installation matérialise le monde.
La nourriture, ça semble être le producteur de.
Oui, vraiment, ça va pas.
Et en fait, une sorte de feedback, ça a très bien marché pour le jeu. C'est quand nous, on donne quelque chose, le sensoriel, les gens ne sont pas dans l'obligation, mais sont enclins à donner leur personne dans le aussi. Donc, il y avait tout ce travail-là, et puis en tout cas, moi, personnellement, j'avais fait un mémoire sur la cuisine dans la diplomatie. Du coup, il y avait un aspect
stratégique,
symbolique, extrêmement stratégique.
En fait,
apparemment,
quand on mange la nourriture, vous êtes calibré un peu le système politique que vous avez. Du coup, il y a, je disais qu'il y avait une espèce de pouvoir mieux assimiler des choses.
Bon, normalement, les desserts étaient réfléchis à tout des systèmes. Et là, on a vu la chantilly en premier. Normalement, c'est la démocratie directe. C'était profond.
rouge.
On termine là dans la avec nos participants à part, si vous voulez vous inscrire.
On peut peut-être vous laisser ici. Je suis dans la
Ah oui.
Regarder un match c'était un peu net.
Le problème, c'est si on a les papiers pour faire c'est en 303. Si vous voulez
Pourquoi il est passé cette...
Mais c'est là, il y a des affaires de soulever. Il m'a dit qu'il y avait quand même des
sollicité son... T'as récupéré ton casque? Ouais. Et on était filmé et diffusé sur Internet. Hein. Hein, on était filmé et diffusé sur Internet. C'est bien.
Moi, il écrit tout.
C'est vrai.
Ça, c'est très joli.
Il y a tous les trucs qui m'ont fait là. Vous
Mais-
les avez fait?
Oui, ah, bah, bien sûr, ouais, quelque part. Là, au moins, on peut lire là.
Oui, merci beaucoup.
C'est beau, hein. Ça fait des graphismes extraordinaires, c'est beaucoup plus mieux que sur l'écran. Hein.
Oui, c'est mieux.
Ah ouais, c'est magnifique sur le bouquin. Magnifique. Ah, qu'est-ce que c'est beau, regardez ça, c'est magnifique. Hein.
Ouais, c'est mieux.
C'est bien mieux que sur l'écran. C'est dommage, parce que ça ne donne pas la...
C'est toujours le regret, hein. Le jury il n'a pas le temps de tout regarder.
Ouais, mais.
Mais il comprend quoi.
Et le bouquin,
Ouais.
Le bouquin, effectivement,
J'aime bien.
et c'est chouette comme les graphismes, on ne voit pas sur l'écran. Non, mais ça, c'est bon.
C'est bon.
Ça, c'est bon. Celle-là, c'est encore plus belle.
Ouais.
Non, mais ça rentre pas sur
Ah oui, il y en a pas, mais ça, c'est des choses qui. Disons qu'ils ne pas forcément.
Non, ah oui. Oui, il doit le voir.
Ouais, enfin non. Ouais.
Regarde ça. Regarde ça.
Mais faut viser du petit pour tout. C'est vrai qu'on allait un peu vite sur la fin, mais on avait peur qu'on dépasse le temps. Tu vois.
Est-ce que tu as moins de demi-heure?
On avait une demi-heure, 45 minutes, tu vois. Il fallait qu'on aille assez vite.
Il dure combien de temps?
Le film. Celui-là, il dure quand même 30 minutes, quoi. Et ça on l'a fait, mais c'est pas grave, tu vois. Enfin,
Heureusement que
là,
c'est pas des vaches.
et c'est vrai, il y a une meuf, elle nous dit, voilà, vous êtes ok, j'ai un projet pour vous avec les Maroc. Elle m'a appelé dans 3 jours. Ouais, elle a trop kiffé, elle a adoré. Ouais. C'est une prof qui en fait s'occupe de la fonte des concours dans l'école. Donc c'est elle qui me s'adresse pour avoir une bague. C'est comme ça, c'est grâce à la bourse qu'on a fait des tas de petits saisons qui sont nickel.
Chouette, hein.
Bon,
Vas-y.
ouais, ça va bien, 45 minutes. Ouais, mais personne ne va venir. On a fait plein de fois. Non, c'est pas pareil, mais on a fait sur l'ordre, il n'y a pas de qui passe. Pas? Non, ça va aller, t'inquiète.
C'est une jolie.
Ouais. Vous laissez vous placer là? Ouais, t'inquiète. C'est pour ça qu'il n'y a pas trop de place à la. Moi, je suis assez serein. C'est pas trop mal passé. Non, c'est parti. Oui.
Il y en a qui font.
Bon. On va devoir aller à l'école là. Si vous voulez venir, madame, mon pote. Pas?
D'accord.
Ça devait les quoi à la fois, mais je pense que ça le bien, moi ça me demande. Pour ça, c'est pas compliqué. Notre école, elle est trop parlant. En gros, faut pas venir à l'école.
Ouais.
C'est un peu tard, mais après, on va décider l'école. Si vous voulez, ouais.
Merci. C'est vrai.
Tout le monde me disait là, c'est dommage qu'on n'ait pas eu le temps de monter plus de trucs, mais
Qu'est-ce que c'est beau? Tout ça, tu me dis que vous ne parlez pas. C'est beau. Hein?
les amis qui les appellent les marins.
Ah, ils sont magnifiques.
Avec
Magnifiques, magnifiques.
Avec les... Ah ouais, ouais.
Ah ouais, non.
On en a fait exprès des vagues.
Bon.
Ouais.
Sur les coups,
Ça rend moins bien, hein, les marques, tu veux dire, ça rend moins bien. Non, mais je la reliure, j'ai dû la faire un peu.
Ouais, c'est bon.
Ouais, c'est trop grave, ça.
c'est bien, hein.
Tu sais que je travaille pour monsieur ici présent, Olivier Perico, designer. Je suis en train de faire un livre pour un workshop qu'il a fait avec